And the world has responded, and they said, we like it and we want more in different languages. So it seems like you're doing a great thing. And you actually have another book that you're writing in the midst right now. It's about Michael Saylor, is that right?
Yes. So
What's
in
that
the
about?
curation process, so I do a lot of, educational curation, and over the years, I realized that a huge proportion of material was coming from one man, and that man was Michael Saylor. And I think the reason is he's a very good communicator, but he's also puts his money where his mouth is, like quite literally. So
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
know he means what he says because he's demonstrating alignment between his words and his actions. Um, so just noticing how people responded to him when he writes a tweet, when he speaks at a conference, when he goes on a podcast, it just seemed like a very obvious thing to turn a lot of his words into a book. And very selfishly, it's really because I want to own that book. I just make stuff that I wish existed. So the book is just
That's the
taking a
best.
lot of his, yeah, yeah, a lot of his speeches, interviews, tweets, reformatting them into a book that will be out later this year. And the digital version will be completely free for anyone.
That's amazing. Well, that's what they always say, right? Like, create the thing that you would want for yourself. Like, like for instance, like with us, it's like, well, what's the show I would want to watch if I'm interested in Bitcoin, but I don't, I want things to be a little bit of a different flavor than what's already out there. So I totally feel you on that one. And as a prominent like Bitcoin creator and educator, I'd be curious, like, do you see more value in educating individuals about Bitcoin or institutions when it comes to like actually adopting Bitcoin?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, at an individual level, I think everyone should work on educating the people they love because you will want those people to hold the hardest money and not be, uh, you know, I guess, taken advantage of by the system. So that's like number one. If you're educating individuals, you're usually doing it to the people you care about because you want them personally to understand this and how their world is about to change. Now, when it comes to
Right.
educating institutions or organizations, that can be really useful if you want to have the greatest impact. Because sometimes it can be just changing one person's mind within an organization, and then they are going to influence an even wider group. So you're always kind of thinking about the trade-offs between your time and the impact it's going to have. But it all comes down to, is the person you're speaking to or the organization you're speaking to, are they receptive to your message? Because for a very long time, we were banging up against a brick wall trying to convince people. And now the table is finally turned where there are enough people hungry to understand this, where your energy is better spent educating people who want to learn about this rather than trying to force something down their throat. So our lives are getting a lot easier in that regard, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. And sometimes just educating the individual can lead to educating tons of institutions. And Michael Saylor is kind of an example of that. Like, he was an anti-Bitcoin guy until about 2020 when he finally took the time to educate himself. And now he's the orange pillar of all orange pillars. He is the Morpheus holding out his hand, presenting us this other option of reality. So I really appreciate your answer on that. Do you think, as someone who's in the Bitcoin creative and educational space, is Bitcoin education currently winning the battle of the narratives right now, or are we still kind of early in that fight?
Number will keep going up, and that is what will win the ultimate battle. Now, how many people come along for that ride and get to benefit from that? I think that's what education can decide or impact. So again, depends what kind of fight you're looking at, but ultimately it just comes down to stack sats, stay humble. A lot of people won't find that useful information because they want to get rich, they want a certain lifestyle, and that's just not going to be compatible with the monetization of hard money, which is a slow, painful process. What you want to do is the heavy lifting very early on to understand Bitcoin, and then just be patient, know what you own, and like the future will take care of itself. Because that's the whole point of understanding all the concepts that I put into this book, is that once you do understand them, there is no debate about this. The path has already been set. The only thing that's going to change is maybe like the speed and how bumpy that journey is. So you have to tune out the noise. Like, look, big picture, long term. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, oftentimes you'll see it with all these meme coin garbage. People are looking for these high alpha plays. But truly, I mean, the best conversion therapy, at least initially, is number go up. And then once people keep seeing that, it increases the credibility of Bitcoin in the financial space. And then they start turning to people like you to actually educate themselves as to why why does orange pill number always seem to go up? And you're really like a catalyst in that space. So we certainly appreciate all of your efforts. And that brings me kind of my next question here. As someone who is such an influential figure in helping people understand Bitcoin and kind of orange pill themselves with the proper education, how do you feel about Bitcoin's branding right now? Like, is the orange pill message already working, or is there something we could be doing differently to better communicate all of the advantages Bitcoin has in today's financial system as we move into the future?
So everything we do to educate or market or brand Bitcoin is completely overshadowed by the jobs that central banks are already doing for us. I think they are the best marketing department imaginable for Bitcoin, because it's basically two sides and you have to pick a side. Not making a choice or picking a side is still picking a side. And the deeper and deeper we go down into this fiat debt trap, the clearer and clearer the answer becomes. And the more desperate one side will get in convincing everyone else that everything is fine, things are working as planned, we know what we're doing. Mask off moment. So I could write 100 books, I could teach 100 workshops. One tweet from the European Central Bank will do far more for Bitcoin than I ever will.
Well, you say that, but hey, if it's that one person at the central bank that read the Bitcoin Handbook and then gets orange pilled, you could then, whether you know it or not, be catalyst for much bigger movements that are happening. And we just don't know, right? But it's stuff like that you're putting out there that allows that to happen.
Yeah, fair. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no. And kind of in that same train of thought, what is your take on the big wave of institutional adoption that we've seen, especially as of late? Do you feel that it's a net positive for Bitcoin because it's getting the word out there and people are starting to embrace it in a very different way than we had ever seen before? Or does it kind of risk diluting some of the core values that Bitcoin was kind of built on to begin with?
So you had Pierre on your show, right?
Yeah.
He wrote some amazing essays over 10 years ago now, laying out exactly what would eventually happen. Now, if you're a Bitcoiner, the only thing Bitcoiners fundamentally agree on are the rules of Bitcoin. As long as you're following the rules, you are free to do as you please with Bitcoin. You want to, self-custody it? Great, that's your choice. You want to, put other information onto the Bitcoin blockchain? Fine, as long as it's a valid transaction, go for it. The institutional piece was always going to happen if Bitcoin was successful. There's no way you have an asset appreciating at this rate and Wall Street doesn't take notice and want in on the action or try to find a way to beat Bitcoin or, capture Bitcoin, whatever you want to call it. It was always going to happen. But if you're an individual and you have Bitcoin in cold storage and self-custody, people can do as they please. It's not going to affect you materially in the long term. So the adoption of Bitcoin by TradFi is just inevitable. And I ultimately think it's not a bad thing. it will only make your Bitcoin more valuable, which will enable you to do more with your life, with your family, focus on your craft. So, yeah, if you read
Not
those essays early on, you knew what was going to happen. You understood what the future would be, and we're just seeing it play out now.
absolutely. Well, Anil, we got one more question for you. I know you got a busy day, so we'll let you go. This one is a little one for me that I'm particularly interested in. I'd be curious as to what your perspective is on the current state of Bitcoin content that's out there. Are we oversaturated currently, or are we still lacking quality content and education, or is there room for new types of content and education, kind of like what we're trying to do at Roxom? What are your thoughts?
I think it's fantastic. I think there should be more educators doing more educating across more mediums, more formats, more content. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin, an open source protocol. Everyone is welcome to do with it as they please. And, if a billion people maybe one day will come to understand, appreciate, and possess Bitcoin, we are not even close to saturation point on marketing,
Right.
education, products and services. So now is a great time to build a business around education, to provide quality content, to build long-term relationships with people by producing stuff that is timeless and continue to maintain high integrity. So yeah, more education, more educators, more content.
Exactly the answer I was hoping you'd say. I love it, Anil. Before I let you go, I'm sure there's people in our audience out there that are saying, listen, I need to get my hands on a copy of the Bitcoin Handbook, and maybe there's a mailing list or something that they can sign up for when your next book releases. Where can I send our audience that's interested in learning more about you and all of the great content that you're putting out to the world?
Yeah, head to my Twitter X handle. It's Anil said so. And if you do, in my bio, there are links to download the book for free. All of my presentations are free. If you want to get on the mailing list to get an early copy of The Treasury of Saylor, you can do that as well. But that is where you will find me most of the time. If not, I'm at a lot of conferences. Come say hi. Always happy to chat.